Good morning, everybody. It's the pollinator. It's the fox. What did I call myself? The Fox 57. The pollinator. Wakanda forever. Listen, I'm just going to call this video log seminar. And why this seminar and not the name of the seminar, the name of the business. Those that have been following me already know the name of the business and the series of seminars I have been participating in since August of last year. And the reason I'm not going to mention the name is this. People are so suspicious. People are so cynical. They can be superstitious. They can be leery of anything that is non-traditional. And most of my adulthood has been spent doing a lot of non-traditional things. I used to be a self-help junkie. When I first got clean and sober, I was drawn to anything that would improve myself, improve my life, improve the way that I felt about myself, about life. And I didn't have very many. I mean, I did have a radar that told me to stay away from certain things that were very cultish or very, how you say? Yeah, very, perhaps even dangerous. Something would go off in me and I would say, no, not that. But with regards to this particular business, I had a friend of mine come see about this, and during one of the breaks, some ladies ran over and very happily asked her, "Are you gonna do this?" and blah blah blah. And his comment was, they looked like there was something in the Kool-Aid, and they were starry-eyed or looked like deer in the headlights type of look. I'm gonna tell you something. People are not. Let me repeat this because it happened to me the first time I showed up around Alcoholics Anonymous, which is people are not used to being around a lot of happy people. They see that as suspicious, and they see that as, what are they drinking? Is it a cult? What are they doing? They all seem to talk the same way, sound the same way, whatnot. I just finished responding in an article that the last time somebody posted in that article was 2013, and it was about this business. And some guy said they're either cult addicts or not very smart. Yeah, not very bright. And I decided to make a comment explaining why, I'm not neither of those things. I'm not dumb, and I'm not addicted to cults. Because a lot of people would attribute this business to a cult because it's non-traditional, and anything that sounds like it, that's what they say about it. So let me tell you, I'm going to explain something that has happened to me as a result of redoing this series of seminars that I began in the 1990s, and just express my gratitude towards the people who I spoke with during this period of time, and basically just tell you what happened. So when I started this, when I came back, when I returned to these seminars, when I left, I was living socialized as a woman. I looked like a woman. I was a dish. Now, I wasn't feminine, but nonetheless, I still look like a woman, which is one of the reasons why trans men are so anxious to grow hair on their face. Because that is a sign of manhood, and it prevents us from looking like women and getting misgendered as women. Except for those that don't particularly care whether they're labeled man or woman. There are lots of those around. But for those of us who strictly want to be called and treated like men, it's super important to hurry up and get this going on. I don't ever get misgendered in public anymore by people who did not know of my past. So when I went back to do these seminars, I went back as a man. And I told myself in the beginning that I would not disclose. I would be stealth. No matter how many seminars I did, I would just do them as who I am, a man. That's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that as long as you aren't confronted by it. So I did the first seminar, and I couldn't do the follow-up one because I had eye surgery on, oh shit, I'm pointing to the wrong eye. I had surgery on this eye, which had a 90-day healing process, and within those 90 days, the second seminar came up, so I missed that one. And then I went and did the second one. I was fine there too. Nothing was very confronting about it as far as me being stealth. And then I did the final one. I'm doing the final one. I'm in the middle of it. And the coaches of the seminar this particular coach decided that she put together a group of men. And I was one of those men. And these were some power fucking house men, cisgender men. They didn't know I was transgender. So, which wouldn't have been an issue, right? I mean, I didn't want to disclose because I didn't want the attention of what I was in that seminar to accomplish to be impeded with or interfered with by the fact that I was transgender. I just didn't want that to happen, and I knew there was a big possibility of that happening if I disclosed in the seminars. And then I started making up crazy ass stories about it. That was the part that was fucked up, is, oh, they're scary, it's scary. I just started building up a tremendous amount of fear about it because after I had bonded with those men, and when I say powerhouse men, I had never been around a group of cisgender men. Not a group of them. I've been around them here, there, everywhere, through other people, through friends of other people, but not, okay, I take that back. I have been with a group of men in a completely different environment, black men, but I was just there to check them out, and that was the NAACP. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue being a member of the NAACP because the one in my county is extremely disorganized, and I don't like how it's run, and there's just something that really bothers me about that organization here in this area. So I've been around them, but we weren't in a workability type of situation where we were broken up into groups and I was just around them. I also did get to go out to dinner a few times with some men in the first seminar. I did go to dinner with some groups of men, but I didn't notice what I noticed this time, which was that, wow. Not only was I impressed by these guys because they are, one of them used to be a pro basketball player, not in this country, but still, this was the level of the quality of these guys that I saw and never had been around, not in a group setting. And so, sorry, my eye is getting weird. This one, the contact needs to be swapped. So where was I? So I was just, it was a 12-hour workday, and I bonded with these guys, and it was great. You know, we had a lot of fun. You know, I got to just cut it up and be myself, and with a group of guys that I had never been around, not that intimately, not that closely, had I been around a group of men like that. And by the next, now that was a 12-hour workday, and then throughout the week, not every single week, but mostly every single week, there's a 2-hour, 2.5-hour class during the week. So after this work day, there was a classroom that next week, and suddenly I got pulled out of that group. Well, what they said was, we're short of coaches here, and we need to create another group. We're going to create another group because we got some more coaches. We got another coach, and we're going to pick people out and put them in the new group. And I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden heard my name. I blew a socket. I was so pissed, and I really didn't know. The first thing I said, and I said it really loud, and it was very asshole-ish of me to say so, but I was overwrought with emotion and didn't know where that emotion was coming from. But I said, and the group I was going into was all women. I was the only man. So I went from a group of all men, the coach was a woman, to a group that it was all women, and the coach of that group was a woman too. And the group I came from, they were all black men except one white guy. And this new group was mixed up, and I was so upset, and I snatched my chair and I moved over to the new group, and I practically banged it down. And I remember somebody sitting there, one of the ladies said, "Don't be mad." And I said, "Well, I am mad. I said out loud, I don't want to be in a group full of women." And they didn't understand where that was coming from, and I didn't even really understand where that was coming. It was this instantaneous reaction to being pulled out of that group of men. Now, there was no, I don't know what the selection process was about, how they chose who was going into the new group, but everybody they put in the new group, none of us knew each other, and we had all bonded with the groups that we had come out of that workday, that 12-hour workday with. So I'm sitting there fuming. I didn't hear anything that was being said because I was so upset. And you know, I begin to think things like, you know, why they gotta pull me out? What the fuck the reason was that for? And so the night ended, and I was still fuming. So I went to the coach and said, "I don't want to be in this group." And I didn't tell her why. I just said, why did I have to be pulled out of that other group? I want to go back to that other group. And so she had a conversation with me, and she really did not know what to do because I was split mad. And I don't know if, I don't know. She was a new coach, and it probably was a little intimidating. Probably not, because, you know, as I found out that the coach that I left and the one that I was going to had a conversation with each other, and the other coach said to take good care of me. So she was probably coming from that place of making sure I was okay. And in fact, I remember now that she did say, you know, "I want to make sure that you're taken care of. What do you need?" And I said, you know, I don't know. And I was just really, really agitated. And so we went to the back and talked to the guy that's leading the seminar. And he said, "Well, I'll put you back in that group if you want me to." And I said, "What?" No, he said, "I'll put you back in that other group if you want me to, but you must lead those men." I said, "What? What do you mean lead those men? You mean like a coach? I'm not a coach. I don't know how to coach. I'm in this seminar. I'm not a coach for this seminar." And he said, "No, not like that. I just want you to take the lead on that, in that group." And somehow something got dropped out, because I thought I heard him say, "I'll put you back in the other group as long as you lead that other group. Be committed to being the leader of that group." And so we walked away. I said, okay, I'll take that on. And we walked away, but it was not clear until the next day that he didn't actually say I was going back to that group. So the next day happened, and I happened to have my coaching call with that new coach. And I decided to disclose to her because I figured out overnight why I was so upset. And I told her everything. I told her I'm a trans man. I'd never been in a group of powerful men like that. And to be snatched out and put in a group of women when I've been forced to be socialized as a woman for most of my life was just really, really fucking offensive. And I did not want to be in that group. It was that at that point she offered to go to bat for me and get me put back in the other group. And then I just quickly in my head said, man, I you know what? I wouldn't want to put one of those guys through that because they would swap places with me. And in case they had a problem with it, I didn't want to be the cause of that. I felt guilty, I suppose. And I felt a little bit selfish and self-centered. And I said, nah, that's all right. You don't have to do that. But we continued to talk, and I told her, I really don't want people to know why I was so upset. The seminar leader didn't even know why I was that upset. He didn't know I was trans. So to make a long story short, I was confronted by this. And because I was confronted by this, in order for me to be accountable and take accountability for it, I had to own my feelings about it. I couldn't put that on the fact that I got swapped out because they had no idea what was going on with me. They just flipped cards or whatever they did and chose people to go into the new group. There was one other person, a lady in the new group that also complained that they have bonded with the people in the work day and didn't like that. And I said, me neither. And I sat there and continued to pout. Like, I think I went back to like being like 6, 7 years old. I was pouting. I was a big pouter when I was a kid. So yeah, my emotions just went straight back to childhood. And so so what happened was I ended up in both groups. Ultimately, is what is happening, is I'm in both groups. Now, I don't get to participate in any of the small group settings within the seminar with those group of men. I participate in them with that group of women, and they had not gelled yet because we're all on this app, and the two respective groups have their separate apps for this seminar. And I started blowing up the group of women, not because I saw that we weren't a cohesive unit yet, but just because that's just how I am. That's how I am in public. That's how I am. I'm outrageous, and when I get something in my head, I just go for it. I don't have any reserves. I take risks. I say things that people don't normally say. When I first got clean and sober and I spoke in meetings, I had many people come up to me after the meetings and say, wow, you said you spoke for me. You said what I wish I could say out loud. And I've just been that way. I've been that way for as long as I can remember. I've been that way, that I just, whatever comes in my head, just I'm flying out of my mouth. And it doesn't matter whether I'm online, whether I'm on social media, whether I'm in person, whatever. And it was enhanced by the work that I have done with that seminar that made me completely self-expressed. But I lost power and I lost my self-expression when all of that stuff was happening with my emotions being jerked around by being put in that new group. And what the coaches created, unbeknownst to me, because I was paying more attention to my emotions than I was community, than I was group. And so what they had created was that I did not lose contact with those guys because I was creating leader in that group. I recreated myself as leader of that group of men. Then the coach of that group decided to have a get-together at her house, like a mini work day. And she cooked and we hung out, we did a bunch of work, and during that day, 3 things were said that triggered the fuck out of me. One, first she said, you know, I don't know what it's like to be a black man in, she didn't say in America, she just said, I don't know what it's like to live as a black man. And I thought, neither do I, honey. Well, I do, but I don't. I've only been living full-time as a black male for going on for, well, over 3.5 years, something like that. And then the second thing she said, and I just sat there, you know, I was reacting in sight, but I didn't say anything out loud. And then she said that one of the men was having some difficulties embracing his maleness, his manhood. Oh my God, I've been talking about this since January of this year. I've been talking about manhood, and I did a live on Fuckerbook platform, a collaborative one with trans men about male manhood, and I've been talking about this for a long time. And so she made a request of us to help this guy step into his manhood. Bam! I was confronted again. It was like, okay, well, how the hell am I going to teach a man who's been living as a man all his fucking life? How am I going to teach him how to be a man? Again, I didn't say anything. I just reacted inside. Then that lady's sister showed up. Very bubbly, very high-spirited, very, I mean, she was a live wire, right? And she came in and started telling a story about someone in her business. I'm not exactly sure what her business is. I think it had something to do with romantic yoga, sexy yoga, something like that. So she started telling this story about a transgender woman in her class and how nervous the lady was, and how, you know, I guess she gave her a lap dance to show her how to do lap dances, and the lady was really nervous and afraid to touch her, and just all this other stuff was going on with this transgender woman, and I just was like, what the fuck? Again, in my head, I didn't say anything out loud, but in my head, I'm like, okay, this is too ironic. This is so, this whole day is very coincidental. That her sister would come in and clearly blue start talking about a transgender woman, and I, you know, and I began questioning my being stealth in there. And when I left that day, I was so upside down and out of sorts and feeling very, very weird and could not figure out why those 3 things were so triggering to me. And then I started thinking, wow, you know what? I'm feeling, compared to those guys, I'm feeling inadequate as a man compared to them. Then that followed with another thought that, wait a minute, I mentor an international mentor and father of many, where I am teaching a lot of young men how to be men. So what the hell was I talking about, right? Nothing was making sense to me, but it had me so upside down and weirded out that I didn't know what to do with any of that. So the next day, and maybe even that night, but I'm pretty sure the next day, I called my coach, because my coach is a miracle worker. I call her Superwoman. The first coach I call Alpha, female, Alpha woman, because she is. And the second one I call Superwoman. So I call Superwoman, and I let it all out, what was going on with me, and that perhaps it's time for me to disclose in that seminar. But then I started giving her all the reasons why I shouldn't do it. I was I was resisting my own desire to disclose and then giving myself reasons why not to do it. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. I'm pretty sure you can. We are all human and we all do that. And we all lose power when we do it. And we're all disempowered when we do it. And we just end up goofy as fuck and trying to do other things to cover up the fact that we're feeling all squirrely and crazy inside because we're resisting something that we really wanted to do, but all of a sudden we got fearful or whatever and start making up a whole bunch of stories about why not to, when another part of you is saying do it. Now, I'm not talking about crazy things. I'm talking about, something that's not going to fucking hurt you or anybody else. But to embrace your humanity and how goofy it could be. I talk a lot about not being religious, but I am a believer. I believe in God, and God must be cracking up at us human beings and the shit that we do mentally. We're the only animals on the planet that can fuck ourselves over in just a conversation in our head, right? Other animals don't have to deal with this. They don't have the mental capacity that human beings do. And then we don't even use large pieces of our brains. So anyway, I'm having this argument in my head, and I told my coach, you know what, maybe I should tell the other coach what happened, but I don't want to. And she said, well, it's up to you. I'm not gonna do anything or have you do anything that would make you uncomfortable. So it's up to you. So I hung up the phone with her, and then I got that, this somebody sitting on this side, good cop, bad cop thing sitting, the good guy, the devil over here. But the good guy said, call your old coach, have a conversation with her. So I did. I called her and I disclosed to her. And she immediately kicked into alpha mode. Oh no, you need to have a breakthrough in this because it's obvious that you're in some kind of distress about it. And she encouraged me to come out in the seminar. And another tricky thing our mind does is, when somebody is encouraging us to do something that we're resisting, all sorts of walls jump up and stories and bullshit, excuses jumps up in our head. Oh, wait a minute. I ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. Blah, 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 blah. We go right back to childhood, where we're being rebellious about something our parents are telling, or you were the type of child that did everything your parents told you to do and you never got any trouble, so now as an adult you ain't letting nobody tell you what to do. I know some of y'all can relate. I know a lot of y'all can relate. So anyway, that started coming up in my head. And of course, when it comes out of my head, it's coming out of my mouth because I'm having a conversation with her about this. And she said, okay. I don't want you to do anything that's going to make you feel uncomfortable or anything. And, I started talking about safety and this and this and that. And it was all bullshit. But for me at the time, it was very, very real. I really suddenly got super paranoid and was afraid. I just was afraid. So I had every story in the book in my head of why not to take that step and let fear trump. Oh, God, I hate that word now. Y'all know why. Fucking 45. Anyway, so I let, I was being this nickname that my coach gave me, my new coach gave me, called Smooth Feather Ray, that I can smoothly feather somebody into not pressuring me to do anything I don't want to do. And I can do it very smoothly and nobody even notices I'm doing it. Whether I change the subject, whether I make a joke and distract you, whatever I got to do to back you up, I back you up. I think I talked about that in another video, my defense mechanisms. We all have them. So there was another class. Yeah, there was another class, and my old coach, after during at the end of the night, there was a whole lot said in that class by the seminar leader that was in line with the curriculum, but I was confronted by everything he said. It was like, oh my God, I am not being authentic. I'm not being true to myself. I'm not being authentic. I'm not being true to myself. I am being my fear. Do I want to be my fear, or do I want to be extraordinary? Do I want to have power in this, or am I satisfied with being disempowered? But everything that was said that day, that night, was in my face, because I knew I wasn't being true to the powerful me. I was being true to the fearful me. So that night after class, my old coach grabbed me and said, I want you to talk to a guy that I trust him with my life. And let him coach you. Be open to that. And I said, okay. Because I trust her. She's not only a coach for that seminar, she is a professional coach in her real life. In her life outside of that business. So she introduced me to this guy, and we went and found a room and sat down and had a conversation about this. And he said some things, but see, he didn't really know me. And he said some things that were off, and he said some things that were right on, and he just coached me, tried to coach me. And I really didn't take the coaching because I didn't know him, and I didn't have this a connection with him the way that I did with that coach. But I listened to what he had to say, and then I left. And by the next day, I went to sleep, woke up, back in a snit about it. I was in pain. I lost so much sleep over this. I couldn't sleep. My mind wouldn't shut up. It was bothering me. And see, when people do various things when stuff like this is bothering them. They'll either shut down, like I said, shut down, make excuses, do something. Just do something to get rid of it, right? But my being doesn't work like that. I'm out to create extraordinary in any way I can, every day, in every way. And I can't create extraordinary if I'm not being extraordinary. But by the next day, I was back on it, back pissed off, saying, you know what, I am not going to put myself in jeopardy, have people asking me obnoxious questions, blah, 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 blah. I was throwing up in my head all over again, right? And I called my coach, and I get agreement with her to back everybody up. She probably doesn't know this right now, so I'll have to tell her that I smooth feather rayed her that day and got her to side with me. That I got her thinking that it was Landmark and not me, not my issue, that it was on them. And so, I just said the name of the business. I said I wouldn't. At any rate, so that was that day, right? So then along comes another work day, which is once a month for a 12-hour day. And I think I had another conversation with the old coach in which she was saying, you really need to get this monkey off your back. This is bothering you. And it was starting to bother her because I sent her a series of messages. Her and that guy she introduced me to sent them a series of messages about why this was just not time to do this, and that I would do it at the end of the seminar so that it didn't interfere with my seminar. Even though the seminars are all about community, and I was playing small, and I was playing everybody in the seminar as small, I didn't realize any of that. And so the workday comes up, starts really early in the morning for me. Anything starts in the morning is too early for me. But from the moment I was in there, I was like, say it. You need to say it. You need to say this. And I let something else get in my way, which well, my coach says don't even worry about that. You know, there'll be other opportunities. But I just sat there with just everything, again, everything that was being said. I felt I felt that what I was resisting was persisting through just what the seminar was about, not through what I was about or anybody else was about. It was for everybody in the room. But I kept feeling like he was talking straight at me, in which he wasn't. But, you know, that's just what we do, right? We make it all about us, ourselves. And by by the first break, I was just absolutely crazy, right? So I grabbed this guy, I turn around and I asked this guy behind me, will you go out on break with me? I need to talk with you about something. See, and this guy happened to be the best friend of a guy I did the first seminar with. He knew. So I felt, because he wasn't a coach, because he had nothing to do with putting on those seminars, because he was just another participant like me, and he was training to be an introduction leader. Either he's in the training or he's a coach in the training or something. I think he's a coach in the training like I was back in the 1990s. So I asked him to go out. And so we left and we went down the street. He wanted to get a Subway. And I was not hungry. I wasn't thirsty. I wasn't anything. I was just ready to get this off my chest. So we had this conversation, and I began to tell him what was going on, and how I was just I did want to disclose, and I didn't want to disclose, and blah, blah, blah. So he asked me, how did I want him to listen to me? I said, what? And he said, how do you want me to listen to you? Do you want? He said, I can do this one or two ways. I can listen you your fear, or I can listen you the leader that you are. Of course I said, well yeah, the leader. I don't want this fear anymore. And I can't seem to get rid of it. And so he said, okay, then as a leader, what would you be telling yourself as a leader? And then he reminded me, what you resist persists. And I was like, as a leader, I would come out about this in the seminar in front of everybody. He said, okay. All right, I'm listening to you as that, so I'm going to hold you to that. I said, okay. And he said, so when are you going to do that? I said, when we get back from the break. He said, well, go tell the seminar leader that you're going to do that. And I said, okay. So we went back, and I went up to the seminar leader and said, when you get a chance, when you start asking people to share, I'd like to share. And he had this smile on his face, and I said, I need to come out. I need to do it now. He said, okay. So I went and sat down. It started, and then here came the moment for sharing. And 4 people got up on the stage. Now, I didn't even realize it till I was standing up there for a while, because there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that were standing up on this stage. And I realized, oh my God, I have not been on a stage speaking like publicly since I left this work in the 1990s. And 2 people shared, and then it was my turn. And I just stood there. And I was just drinking in being on that stage and remembering the last times that I was up there with that business. And then I looked at everybody and I started to share. And at first I talked about the fact that I had been a public speaker for them before, and a few other things about that. But then I told them I've been hiding something from you guys, and I had planned on doing that for this entire seminar, this entire series of seminars. I had planned to do that, and not even have to deal with this at all. But it became quite obvious when I got pulled out of that one group and put in the other one that it was time, that it was telling me it was time to do it. And I'm not sure what else I said, but then I just came out and I said what I've been withholding from you guys is that I'm a transgender man. And that I did not want to say this out loud because I didn't want to start getting obnoxious questions and blah, 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 blah. I don't remember what else I said, but by the time I finished talking, which was probably only 5 minutes, but it felt like 20. By the time I finished, I went to get, and I was, at one point I was looking at everybody, and then the next minute I wasn't looking at everybody. I was just talking and kind of like didn't see any of the other people. And so I started to get off this stage, and when I looked up, everybody was standing and clapping. And then I saw that, and I stepped back and just stood there and took it. And took that love. And took that acceptance. And just felt remarkable. And then I shut it down. I don't know if anybody has ever been with a group of people who gave you that much love. It's really hard to take. And I've done it. I did it for many, many, many years in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and other 12-step programs. But it had been a long time since I'd had that kind of outpouring of love and support and acceptance and all that goes with it. But I stood there until everybody sat down, and I was smiling, and when I sat down, the guy on my right immediately started asking questions, and I thought, oh no, here we go. I knew that was going to happen. But by the end of that day or by the next day, I realized that what I was going to rob myself of the opportunity of was to be in that space and be okay in that space, because the freedom I felt was outrageous. I was free from that fear. And so I was going to rob myself of that experience, that breakthrough, and I was going to rob myself of being the only transgender man in that center who came out about it. There was one other person who came out about it, and that is a transgender woman, but I don't know her. I just heard about her because somebody told me about her and said, you know what, somebody else did it, so why don't you do it, type of thing. And I said, well, that's her. I don't know who she is, and I don't know why, the circumstances on which she came out, but I ain't doing what she did. You know, I was still throwing up at that time. So, but I was going to rob myself of that experience and of educating, being the cause of bringing together cisgender and transgender people through my leadership, through my courage, through my lack of fear of them, that I would be able to, because that business, that organization is worldwide, and I don't know who, in fact, it has already touched some people in that seminar who was dealing with a bunch of scared transgender people, which I found that out yesterday. And they want me to speak in their community, whatever this thing is that she's doing. And then other people came up and told me, well, I knew. One guy told me, well, I knew. I was just waiting for you to say it. And I laughed, and, you know, we gave each other a pat on the back and walked away. And then somebody else came up and hugged me, and, you know, I was getting hugs all day. And the last thing I remember when I jumped off the stage is somebody said, you made my seminar for me. This made it for me. And I said, oh, damn, that's the second time this has happened. And everybody started laughing because it happened in my forum. Me and that forum leader moved 137 people, not including the staff that does the production for those things. We moved. My story about racism moved everybody. I didn't even see that until this guy pulled me halfway down the aisle and had me turn around and look at everybody's face. And I was like, whoa. I had no idea that the conversation we were having with each other up there had moved everybody in that room. So I did it again in the last seminar of the series. And something else funny happened, but this thing is getting a little long. So the opportunity for me to be walking what I'm talking, because my business is centered around this very thing, to bring together cisgender and transgender and intersex black people, that there is no division, that we are fighting against racism together without the focus being on genders and sexualities. That is the nature of my business. That is the mission. I've never said it out loud, but that is the mission. This is the first time I'm saying it publicly. I'm probably going to, put out another video on my business channel, that this is the mission of TMBLM Incorporated. So I just wanted to tell y'all what I'm feeling like. I told my coach, we had a coaching call yesterday, and I said, I think I lost like 10 pounds when I did that. And she said, nah, maybe like 15. And we both started laughing, and she said, she said, I am watching you transform right in front of my very face. And it is such an honor to watch how powerful you are, that you don't even know how powerful you are, but how you come off around here is just remarkable to watch. And I said, I don't really know how to take that. I know I pack some power in my words and the way that I am, but it's almost like not being able to see it because I'm in my own head and I'm in my own body, and I just don't see that. I don't get that power. I just am that power. It's nothing for me to brag about. It's nothing for me to boast about. It's nothing for me to put a feather in my cap over. And because my mission, my purpose, how I make a difference in the world is just to do that, is to make that difference and be the stand that other people don't want to be, that other people are too afraid to be, that other people don't have the courage to be. It is my mission in life to be that, whether other people catch on to that or not. But I am out to transform this planet, starting with the people around me, my friends, my family, my loved ones. I'm going to keep standing there the rest of my life. I'm going to keep being leader. And I can't be leader without being leader. See, I'm going to do what nobody else wants to even think about doing. I'm going to stand in a place that other people couldn't give a goddamn to stand in, because they're too worried about their own ass, and they're self-centered, and they're all about them, their little circle, their little life, their little or big life. I mean, people are just that self-centered in the world right now. I've never seen it this way. As long as I've been alive, and I've been around a long time, I have never seen people so into themselves as I'm seeing right now, which is resulting in all the division. And because if you don't care about your neighbor, and you don't care about people around you, and you're just trying to keep your own little circle just skin tight, really, really tight, you ain't gonna reach nobody else. But that is by design. People don't want that because everybody's afraid of everybody. We had a fear exercise in this seminar. They got rid of some of that. It is my desire to touch as many people as I can about this, because there's just too much fear. There's not only fear mongering going on with the government, but there's just a lot of people that are going, okie doke, I'll be afraid. And so how many people you see out there that are fearlessly, and boldly, and with power, talking about the things that we need to be talking about in this country to put it back together? Nah, lip service, complaints. But that's not the same as standing in a place of power and leadership in the matter. And I'm out to create leaders of men that are willing to tackle this, all of these issues. Leaders of women too. I will have both female and male officers in my company once I finish this seminar and start to rock that house, rock my business. I will be looking for both men and women. It's not just going to be transgender men. It's going to be mostly transgender men, but it's not going to be all transgender men. It could be some cisgender men that step up to the plate and want to play full out with this. My mission. Anyway, boy. Okay, now I can't even freaking see. It's that time of the morning where I can't hardly see anymore. I hope everybody has a great week, an awesome week. I wish your week was filled with the love and the acceptance and the lightness of the lack of fear that mine is going to have this week. And I'm going to be able to make some other possibilities happen because I got that monkey off my back. That is an American slang for you people who are watching this from outside of the United States. That, you know, it's when you conquer something and you get rid of something that's really heavy and really bothering you, and no matter what it is, it's called getting the monkey off your back. So with that, I bid you adieu, and the pollinator is out. Peace.